Hello and welcome to Moneycontrol. Last week, Industrialist Sajjan Jindal's power utility, JSW Energy, raised rupees 5,000 crores in QIP, its first equity issue in 14 years since the company listed. So, what is the fundraising for and why now? To answer these questions, I have with me today Joint Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer Sharad Mahendra and Chief Financial Officer Pritesh Vinay. Thank you very much for joining us on Moneycontrol. Interesting times and very interesting fundraising. You've seen fabulous response from institutional investors. Help me understand what was the rationale behind this fundraising right now, the timing of it.
See, Rachita, thank you for being with us, and it's good to interact with you. See, the basic purpose before we come to the QIP and the objective and the reason for and the timing, it is very important to understand how the country in general and what is happening, and also what is happening in the power sector. We all know that India is the only large size economy growing at this rate. And this time the change in the growth is that it's more of a manufacturing driven, industrialization driven, infra driven growth, which we are witnessing for last few years and will likely to continue at least for a decade. This all is resulting in very significant growth in the power demand. And just to give an example, that in FY23, when the peak power demand reached a figure of 203 gigawatt, very recently, the number has come. In the coming summers which have started, the peak demand is likely to be 260 gigawatt.
Right.
So this is the incremental demand which is required. So the huge opportunities of new capacity additions are going to be there, and especially the renewable energy space, where we have to reach, that country has said to be reached in excess of 500 gigawatt by FY30. That number to achieve, I think every year, the capacity addition in the green space which is required is 40 to 50 gigawatt every year. If we see the past, the capacity additions have been maybe under 10. It was last year only, which has just ended, that the bidding at least close to 50 gigawatt of bidding has completed, and which is in line with what Government of India announced of 50 gigawatt energy addition has to happen, renewable energy. So at least the first step of reaching that bidding number has reached. Capacity addition, of course, last year also the 11-month numbers are there, which is close to about 11.5 gigawatt of wind and solar capacity additions happened. But going forward, definitely we'll see a significant increase in this growth, capacity additions.
Fair enough, Mr. Mahendra. I mean, of course, you've given a big picture on what's happening in the country. But in terms of JSW and the kind of growth plans you have, how does this fundraising tie into that? What is the rationale?
I was coming to that only now. See, as you know, that maybe about a year and a half, 2 years back, we have announced that JSW Energy, our strategy 2.0, that 20 gigawatt will be reaching by FY30. That is what the announcement was made, and which was divided into 2 phases. Out of which first phase was by FY25, the fiscal which had just started, that we will be reaching 10 gigawatt.
Right.
The year which had just ended now, FY24, we have already reached 7.2 gigawatt capacity. And the work in progress of the projects which are on ground is another 2.6 gigawatt, which takes to 9.8, and some of the fresh capacities also will get executed. So we are in line of with reaching 10 gigawatt by FY25. Which was our phase 1 of the strategy 2.2.
Right.
Then phase 2 said that from FY26 to FY30 we'll be adding another 10 gigawatt and thus reaching 20 gigawatt.
Right.
But now the changed scenario, as I said, that a lot of biddings have taken place, a lot of opportunities, environment is more conducive, that we feel that there is a strong opportunity to accelerate our growth. And the way our present order book is now built up, because in last 2 to 3 months time, we have participated in the competitive bidding space, and we have won 3.7 gigawatt in competitive bidding space, along with the projects which are already in hand, including group captive. So we are quite confident that this 20 gigawatt by FY30 will be accelerated now and will be completing much ahead of time, maybe few years earlier than FY30. To fund this accelerated growth, I think the timing of this QIP is going to be a major enabler for us And about the QIP and the success, the response, what we have got, I think my colleague Pritesh will definitely share more details on QIP with you.
Fair enough. Pritesh, of course, it got a lot of interest in the market. I mean, because JSW has been an interesting play, the kind of mix you have in terms of renewable and fossil, and also in terms of long-term PPAs and short-term PPAs. When you look at the interest, what is the sense you are getting? Is this is the market looking at you more from the prospect that you offer in green energy and also the merchant space? What is your understanding?
I would say, Rachita, that it's a much bigger perspective from investors' point of view is our understanding after extensive interactions as part of the process and even otherwise. First is this, that global investors are looking at India very, very attractively. This is sector agnostic view. Then I think after more than a decade, the power sector in India has come on the radar of many of these large institutional investors, both global as well as local, right? And hence, I would say that the framework that probably the investors have put across is this, that there's a large option value that is available out there, from a sectoral opportunity point of view in the context of what Sharad just mentioned. And then they are being discerning that which company can they take the best bet on to translate that option value to real cash flows? And I think the phenomenal response, which is very humbling indeed for us, is more a reflection of the investors' confidence on the execution capability and track record of JSW Energy, on the conservatism and the prudence of capital allocation track record, and I think a sum total of all of that. So I would say it is very difficult to isolate it to merchant or which fuel type, because investors are looking at this is the only diversified platform in the country which is present across all modes of generation, thermal, hydro, solar, wind, all modes of storage, battery storage and hydro pump storage, looking at backward integration from a supply chain de-risking, and looking at a forward integration by looking at the electrons to molecules business. So the full suite of play is available with a company which has got a unique and distinctive track record of executing projects. So I would say it is more a reflection of that rather than playing on merchant or solar or something like that.
So Pritesh, one thing that people are talking about is the fact that you raised equity at the parent company level, and what is this signaling? Because you had the option of other forms of equity raising. You have JSW Neo, which is which houses all the renewable generation projects. But the general understanding or takeaway that a significant part of the investors' relations and research community has is that the fact that you have done it at parents level kind of signals that the fossil fuel based power growth will continue, and you want this equity to be available for that as well. Is that a right assumption? And also give us a sense on the incremental growth that you're talking about. What kind of mix will that be?
So Rachita, very important question. I'm glad you asked that, because if you look at our commentary for the last, I would say 6 to 9 months, consistently this question has been asked to us about, potential monetization at JSW Neo, which was precisely the reason for which we created that vehicle in the first place, a couple of years ago. And every time we consistently maintain that whatever strategic decision we will make, we will definitely weigh what is going to be the most value accretive, trade-off at a particular time. So one of the other important considerations of going through the QIP route was that in the last year or so, we also kept on getting a lot of feedback from a lot of large institutional investors that, great company, you're executing very well, but you have very limited free float and very low liquidity. So the idea was also to create a liquidity event to get some very reputed blue chip names in the cap table who can be your potential partners for long-term growth. Now, coming to the second part of your question, it's arithmetic, right? Sharad has just said that, by the end of this fiscal year, we will be close to 10 gigawatt of capacity. Of that, less than 40% will be fossil fuel and more than 60% will be green. He's also talked about the incremental pipeline beyond 10 gigawatt. 100% of the pipeline is green. So it's clear that, incrementally the share of fossil fuel in the overall pie is going to be reducing and the share of green is going to be increasing. So, I mean, just anecdotally speaking and, just connecting the dots, it is reasonable to assume that almost the entire new capital will go to grow the renewable business,
One last question to both of you. If you can wrap up in one line, I mean, you started this year with a big bang fundraising. If I were to ask you, what is the main thing that you want to achieve at JSW Energy in this financial year? In one line, if both of you can summarize. Pritesh, maybe we'll go first with you.
To hit 10 gigawatt before March 25.
That's a lovely target.
Yeah. See, as I said that 10 gigawatt to achieve, what Pritesh said is to ensure that the desired capability is built on a permanent basis in the organization to be future ready, to ensure that this capacity is executed every year, and to ensure that the growth is sustainable.
Fair enough. Thank you so much for your time, Sharad. Thank you so much for your time, Vinay, and a pleasure talking to you. And best of luck for all the projects that you have coming up. Thank you for joining Moneycontrol. Stay tuned.
Thanks, Rachita. Thank you.
Thank you,
very much.
Rachita.
Thank you.